Let me pull my chat back up really quickly so I don't miss anything. I'll be fine. I'll be fine by tomorrow, I'm sure. It happens so often. I'm used to it, but it's just yucky. But thank you guys for being here. Refresh, refresh. Delane is saying, yeah, if your screen is not showing up, just hit refresh. Really quickly too, I did want to say, because I still had a couple people message me and say they're not sure how we chat on here. I know some people, there's like a area you can just write a comment on at the beginning of Ustream. So really quickly, y'all, right when you're on here to the right side, right by the video, there's a little menu button, and if you just click that, the second one down is chat. That is all you have to do, and then you'll see everything. Everybody is talking on there. I've had a lot of people say they don't see where I'm reading these comments and stuff from, so I just wanted to let them know. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to go over some announcements real quick. The first one is the next show coming up is on Tuesday, the 18th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it is Miss Robbie Herring, who is amazing. She's always on here. Super sweet lady, and she is doing the dress form that you saw on the blog today, which is super gorgeous. Hop over there and see what she created. She will be on Tuesday, and it's super, super awesome, and I can't wait to see her first show. So come out and support Miss Robbie. She is so talented. Also, I'm sure a lot of y'all know there were some technical difficulties during Frank's show on Tuesday. So they are rescheduling Frank's show and that project for September 1st at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So he will be doing it again on September 1st at 11 a.m. Hello, Song. Hello, everybody. And then last, we have a surprise tomorrow on the Prima blog. Be sure to check it out for an amazing deal. You can go to prima.typepad.com, the blog, or see it on livewithprima.net, where you get the special delivery kits at. You can hop on to either one of those websites and you will see the surprise. Okay, so this is what we're creating tonight, and it's just a little altered frame. It's one of those projects that kind of you don't really know what you're doing, but as you start going along, you just kind of start letting the project take over, and that's basically what happened. I was altering this butterfly mask, and as I started doing it, I just started pulling things and playing with the new bird stamps from the Bloom collection from Jamie, which these guys are so cute, and I cannot color very well, so I was just playing around with them and paper piecing, and ended up turning into like a whole frame, just a whimsical frame. My niece is redoing her bedroom right now, and she needs a lot of stuff in there, so I made this for her room. She's 13 years old, so this is going to be in her pretty little pinkish room. So it just sits on its own. I don't have this exact frame tonight, so we're just going to be doing a similar one, but not exactly the same. I got these at Michael's a while back. It's in that unfinished wood section. They have like a million different kinds from season to season. So this is what we're creating. I'll give you a close-up really quickly. We'll be using a lot of the new items, the oil pastels, which I'm so in love with, the watercolor pencil, some of the new metals and everything. Okay, one more time, let me see who's on here. Hello, Zandra, Deb, Song. Thank you guys so much for coming out. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. We do have a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to stay focused. I don't know if I can get this done in an hour, as usual, so I'm going to go ahead and try to focus tonight. Okay, so I'm going to set this one right here so we can keep it in view. And let me move my mouse. And I've already done one coat of the chalkboard paint right up here, but I'm going to go ahead and do another one because I want to make sure my edges, I'm really picky about that. I like my edges because it's like this burnt, these are laser cuts, so you kind of have that really dark edge, which is fine for like grungy projects, but not for this. So you can see it's a different frame. I'm using a larger one tonight, but just use whichever one you have. Yeah, the frame is from Michael's. Okay, let me grab my paint. We're going to be using the egg blue chalkboard paint to paint our frame. I didn't even prime it first. You can see I'm getting really sloppy because I'm going to put a piece of paper here in the center, so I'm not even worried about that. But the product number for this is 577216. This is probably my favorite chalkboard paint. I love this color. It's super gorgeous. It's the perfect blue color. I'm going to be using the new paintbrushes from Thin, which I don't have that product number out right now. Give me a minute and I'll go grab it because I'm getting all organized, and I have like a little mini album, almost a little tag album, and I'm writing all my SKU numbers in it. That way it's really easy for me to keep up with what I'm using. So I will grab that in just a second. But all I do basically is I just kind of dip my paintbrush in there, and I'm just kind of pouncing in here because I want to get all of that laser edge where it's really dark brown. I want to get that covered in blue. So I'm just being really sloppy, and then I can just kind of brush down at the end. So just 2 coats of this chalkboard paint should be all you need. If you want to gesso it first to save your chalkboard paint, you'd probably only need 1 coat. But I'm just doing 2. Alright, and I went ahead and did 1, that way we wouldn't be waiting so long for it to dry. I try to prep as much as I can, with being able to still show you guys all of the steps. Okay. Yes, like I said last time, I used to work at Michael's, so it was really hard for me then to not grab everything. And now I haven't worked there in a couple months, and I still have so many items that have been in here for forever. So it's kind of nice now, since I'm not getting any more surplus of items, to go through and use what I've been hoarding for so long. My room is literally just like one big mess of things waiting to be altered. I mean, I have a whole locker unit. If anybody ever saw my scrapbook room tour, that whole thing is just filled with items waiting to be altered. So it's about time to put a dent into it, because I'm sure you guys are the same. If you do any altering, if you see a really cool piece out there, you got to grab it when you see it. I mean, I hold some pieces for up to like a year, 2 years, but eventually they get used. Chris says I'm a hoarder, and I probably am, but that's okay. Hello, Amy. I'll try to look up Robbie. Thank you for coming, dear. I was telling them about your dress form class coming up on Tuesday. So pretty. And I agree with you, Robbie. Dress forms are one of those things that you can make over and over. There's so many ways to alter them. You could just keep on going with those bad boys. I love altering dress forms. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for a minute. That's why I went ahead and painted it first so it could be drying, and then we will go to the stamping part. Move this out of the way really quickly. Grab my towel to try to get some of this up. Okay, so now we're going to start covering our mask. I don't know if you can tell here, but I have a couple of different layers, and I wanted this to be really dimensional. So we're going to use a couple of different pieces of the Garden Fable paper. Let me grab my pad really quickly so I can give you a SKU number. And I always opt for the A4 pads because I don't do layouts, I do altered pieces, and you get so many more of each one when you do the A4 pad. So the product number for that is 847333. Oh yeah, Lisa, those were amazing. That was a couple years ago. I remember those. Those were just blowing my mind. Those were so wicked cool. I could never do anything that big, but that was so cool. All right, I went ahead and traced and cut out my pieces for my mask just to save some time. Just like I said, we do have a lot to cover. So I went ahead, and this is just a plain white mask. Again, I got this from Michael's. It's just a little flimsy paper one. When you put your layers of Prima paper on there, it really thickens it up, though, and makes it a lot more sturdy. So I don't want to waste paper, and a lot of this is getting layered over. So you'll see I just cut halves for most of these because the rest of it's going to get cut off, and I don't like to waste my pretty Garden Fable paper. So I went ahead and covered this half with this piece of paper from the Garden Fable collection. This one is going to go on this side, and I have it ready. And I also ran this one through an embossing folder. Just any embossing folder you have. I don't know if you can see the texture on there, but that just gives one side of it some really pretty texture. Okay, so what we're going to do is just take our pieces of paper and figure out what order we're going to go in here. I think I'm going to do the blue layer next. Let me make sure that's right. Yep. So all I'm going to do now is take my scissors and start cutting from the bottom, and I'm just kind of doing a wavy cut because we're going to do some distressing and manipulate this with water. So I'm literally just cutting it in kind of like a wavy design, just like that. Then I'm just going to move that out of the way. I can probably cut a little bit more of this off too. So that's all we're going to be using. I'm going to use my Prima Distress Tool, which I have a brand new one I'm fixing to whip out. The product number for this is 890940. I'm sure every single one of you have this in your collection. I mean, this is one of those staple items. So I'm just distressing my edges. And I went ahead and clear gesso this base, but these will need to be gessoed as well because we're going to use the oil pastels on them, and they work much better if it's gessoed. Okay, so I'm just distressing the edges just a little bit like that, and then we're going to use water to manipulate the paper, kind of curl it on itself a little bit. So I'm just going to mist the edges very lightly with water, not too much. And then I'm just going to kind of use my fingers just to kind of start curling that up. I don't know if you can see because I'm kind of far away, but just kind of start using your fingers to curl it up just to give it extra dimension and make it look really pretty. And we're going to do some micro beads on the edge, which make it look really cool. Right, so that's it. You can even like take one end and curl it down like that, whatever you want to do. Just get some dimension going there. Alright, once that dries, it'll stay put. To get the next layer, I'm going to add this one here really quickly just so I can see where I need to cut at. And I'm going to cut right through the center of the eyepiece. So I'm going to start right here and do the same thing. Just dimensionally, not dimensionally, just do a wavy cut here. Okay. So that piece is going to go right there. We're going to do the same thing. Song, the Royal Menagerie, yes, I agree. Very pretty. I can't wait for Christmas to do the new line. I cannot wait to do some Christmas projects. And I never did much Christmas festivities, no decorating or anything until I started scrapbooking, and now I absolutely love to do things around Christmas time. Home decor pieces. I make my mom something every year, well, probably more than one thing, and she keeps it and puts it out with her decorations every year. She loves it. If I don't make her something, she gets really upset. Okay, so I'm going to put those to the side, and then we are going to get our oil pastels out, which I know a lot of people don't have these yet, but you will soon. These bad boys are amazing. And all I'm going to do is grab my most used one. Can you tell which one it is? It is this bad boy right here. It's already getting down to a little nub. Alright, instead of just putting it directly on there, if you follow Prima on YouTube, they do quick tips all the time, and I saw them do this the other day on there. And this is how I've been using it since then, and it's really cool. Let me give you the product number for this really quickly. It is 814328. Alright, so this is a glass cutting mat right here, so I'm just scraping some on there. And I'm going to grab my Prima water brush. I'm going to squirt a little bit out. And just dip my water brush in there until I get a good consistency. Not super watery. Okay, and then I'm just going to go around all of my edges with it. And this is just an option besides using inks. This is just another way to color your edges, and I like the way it makes it look. Plus you can really control how much you're putting on there, which I really love that about the oil pastels. And like I said, I did clear gesso these. I should have done these edges again, but I forgot to. Alright, so I don't know if you can tell, but it's just distressing the edges and making them look vintage instead of inking them. And we're also going to color our paper with this too in just a minute. I love the oil pastels. Okay, let me get my other ones. It's good to do this while the paper's still wet too, because it'll soak in a lot better. The paper will absorb this much better. Alright, so you can really see on the blue there, hopefully. My camera doesn't zoom in very well. It does okay from a distance, but for some reason it's hard to show details. And if you get too much, you can just rub it off. That's what I love about this. I clear gesso everything. I try to do it ahead of time because I don't like to wait on anything to dry on here, but everything I ever touch usually has clear gesso all over it. It makes everything spread just much, much better. So how is everybody feeling? I don't have any children myself, but I know school is starting back. Do we have some happy parents about this, or is anybody bummed out? Seems like for the most part everybody is pretty much ready for school to start back. My niece is ready to go back. Okay, do this edge really quickly. Yeah, they will be in stores soon, you guys. Well worth the wait. You guys are going to love them. Alright, I'm just going around this edge too really quickly. And then we're also going to color in. This is a sheet in the Garden Fable collection, and it's all like black and white and grays, kind of like sepia tone. So I'm just going to kind of use this to kind of color some of my leaves, just give it a little bit more color. Just like that. Let me squirt a little bit more water out of there. Yep, Carrie's on vacation. I'm so jealous. We didn't go on vacation. Well, we went out of state, but it wasn't like a vacation. I want to go on a vacation. Alright, let me get my edges real quick and then I'll color the flowers and stuff. I'll get sidetracked and forget to do my edges. I love the Garden Fable collection. It's definitely, I don't want to say it's my all-time Prima favorite because that changes all the time, but it's definitely up there. So incredibly pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to keep adding color. I'm even going to go on some of these roses and add a little bit of color. Just for some extra definition. These roses are so pretty. I've been fussy cutting all of these elements out, and it's so fun to tuck into all your sprays and stuff. Really fun to do. Okay, so that's it. We just added some extra color there on the edge. Once it dries, it'll kind of all be a little bit more subtle than it is now. Let me get that up really quickly, and we will start adhering all of our layers down. Blot some of this excess up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so to adhere these down, I'm just using a tacky glue. I'm using the clear gel tacky glue. You could use the gloss gel, but for me, I'm doing kind of like dimensional edges, so I'm just going to use this tacky glue. I typically use the matte gel or the gloss gel to adhere all my papers and embellishments down, but I'm going to go with this one tonight. So just make sure you line up your eye, the center of your eye. Other than that, you're just going to stick it on there. And I only put glue on this front part. I didn't put any glue back there because I want to be able to lift this up and tuck things in at the end. So I just put glue on the front half. Alright, so that's what we have so far. Song, you are such a baby. I didn't realize you were just 24. I guess I should have known. You're a baby. Okay, this one's just a tiny piece, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue just on this edge. Okay. Just lining this up. And if you have to go in, because I traced my mask onto all my papers and cut them all at different times, so if something's not flush with your other edges, you might have to flip it to the back and kind of trim the excess off if that happens to you. No worries. Alright, so again, I'm just adhering the front portion so that I can tuck some items in the back. Okay, so we've got that side ready to go. Now we're going to take our left part of the mask, and I forgot to add color to it, so let me get some more of that oil pastel. Oh, the color I'm using is ochre. This one's definitely my favorite. It's got a very vintage tone to it, so it's perfect for doing all your edges. So I'm going to move that for just a second. Get my watercolor brush back out. Thank you, Napur. You are so sweet. I love layering things. I haven't done a layout in so long. I'm going to do a layout soon. And just put so many layers on there. It's just going to be crazy dimensional. So I saw your layout that you're going to be doing a Ustream on. I loved it. My problem with layouts is I don't have any photos either. You know, we don't have children, so I don't have a ton of photos that I feel like are layout material. I can't get Chris to take very many pictures with me, so I'm not going to stick a ton of selfies on there. I don't take any selfies, so I really don't have much. I have seen ladies who do take pictures off the internet, and I love that. They do amazing pieces with that, and like vintage photos and stuff. That might be what I start doing. Because I think sometimes the photo really makes the layout. Especially those of you who have like grandkids and children, babies to take beautiful pictures of. Alright, let me get this cleared up really quickly. I love these watercolor brushes. All you gotta do is squirt a little bit more water out and it's clean. I love it. Okay. So now we've got all of these edges inked. And now the only thing I'm gonna do before I adhere it, well actually let me adhere it first and then I'll do that. Let me make sure I have this lined up correctly before I stick it down. I might need to cut a little bit more off of the edge there. Nope, looks good to me. I'm going to curl this edge back just a little bit. But other than that, it is ready to go. Okay, and again, I'm just using my tacky glue to adhere it down. When I first started scrapbooking, I only did like vintage colors. I couldn't stand pink. I didn't like blue. I would do like black, white, and red, everything. For about a year I did this. I look back at all my old pieces and they were so just grungy and vintage. And I don't know when I finally started using pink, but now I can't imagine not using it. I'm just not a super girly girl, so I guess that's why I didn't use too much pink. And I'm still afraid of really bright colors, like really bold colors, I guess I should say, that pop. Song, you do so good with colors. You use like the best color combos. Okay, just adhering it on there like that. Got a little bit of glue back there. Okay. And this one's embossed, so I'm trying not to rub it with my fingers because I want the texture of the embossing folder to still show up. Okay, so this is what we have so far without the mask being embellished. This is what it's going to look like. Hopefully you can see the texture on this side. Let me make sure it's adhered really well. And then just to make that embossing show up a little better, I'm going to grab some of the Art Basics Heavy White Gesso. And the item number for this is 961442. Yeah, Song, I love blue. I think my favorite color combo is like brown and blue. I don't know. That's probably my favorite. There was a period where I was just using that all the time. So I'm just dipping my finger in there. This is a very heavy bodied gesso, which I love it for. So I'm just kind of using it to just barely touch the surface layer of this. And it's just going to kind of make that texture show up more. And don't put too much. You don't want it to go down into the recesses. You just want it to hit the raised areas. And I'm big on using my fingers too. I'm sure you guys have noticed that by now. I stay very inky and messy. I tried for my first 2 Ustream shows. I went and got my nails done and everything, but it is so impractical. I'm just such a messy person and a messy crafter. There's no reason for me to do that. I mean, my fingers stay just grimy looking with paints and stuff. So that just kind of made the texture show up a little better. Okay, so we're going to go back to our frame really quickly so we can get our stamping on there and it can be drying while we decorate our mask. Alright, so to make this just a little prettier than just painting it, of course, I was going to do an image transfer, which I did on my last show, because you can do that on a really intricate frame like this and it shows up beautifully, but that's just a little too time consuming, and it's going to take a lot of time to do it. A little finicky and labor intensive. So I'm just using some of my Garden Fable stamps. This is probably my favorite one. It's just a really pretty texture stamp. So I'm going to be using that. And since I'm going to be using other mediums, I'm not going to use my chalk edgers because they are amazing. But if you're going to be spraying mediums and stuff, you're going to need something permanent. So I'm just using a more permanent ink. And I'm just going to go around all of my edges. I'm not using a block because I don't want a perfect impression. And I am just going to keep turning my stamp around so I kind of get this area up here in some places. And I'm just going all the way around my frame. I'm not paying any attention to this part because we're going to cover it with paper. And this is such a simple technique, but it really just adds a lot of character to the frame. And you could use different stamps, but this one has like so many different portions to it that it kind of just looks amazing. Alright, that is good for me. We are going to be adding micro beads and other items on there, so it will get some extra character. So that is what we have for now. Hopefully you can see that beautiful stamp. So we're going to set this to the side and let that dry for a second. I wanted to show you how I did my birds. I don't know if you can see on this one. Like I said, I'm not good at coloring, so what I did is I just paper pieced my birds. I just love this Garden Fable collection, and I wanted to kind of use those on there. So all I did, let me grab my little birdies really quickly, and the stamps. And I used 2 of them out of the stamp set. And these are dirty. Please do not judge me, but I've really been using these a lot. They are the bird stamps, and the item number is 980528. So all I'm doing, and this is a really good way to use your scrap pieces of paper up. So let me grab my paper really quickly. So anytime you're doing projects, you're going to have like little scrap pieces of paper like this. And I have just been stamping my birdies on there. So I'm just fussy cutting them out. I stamped them one time on like a solid piece and just fussy cut them out. And then I stamped them on a couple of, you know, contrasting pieces of paper like the roses, the text, the pinks, just any of your scrap pieces of paper. So just fussy cut that out. And this is what it's going to look like when you cut it out. That one was stamped onto the blue paper. I love these birdies. They are so cute. I love them. See, I can paper piece all day, but for me, coloring them, I'm not very good at it. So I cannot do that. I don't know. I'm not a good colorer with the markers or anything. So for this birdie, all I did was fussy cut it out, and then I stamped again and just cut the body part out right here and a little tail feather. So we're just going to piece that right on top of there, and then we're going to use our oil pastels to kind of color his beak and his little feet down there. So I'm going to go ahead and use the tacky glue again so you can see what that piece looks like. Just fussy cut that one piece. Those of you who do the Julie nutting stamps, you're probably super used to paper piecing. I know Bona comes up with some really, really cute little girls using paper piecing with those stamps. This one only did 2 pieces of paper on. On the bigger bird, I layered it 3 times, which we're fixing to do. So I didn't put a ton of glue, just enough to make it tack, because I kind of want to fluff my wing up a little bit. Just make sure it lines up perfectly with your original stamped image. And I always, after I fussy cut these out, I always use my black chalk edger to kind of go back over my lines, make sure everything stands out really well. So that's what it looks like so far. And now we are just going to, instead of using the oil pastels, let me grab the watercolor pencils, because those would also be super quick and easy to do. Alright, let's use the Scenic Route one. And the item number is 576691. So I'm just going to use this one right here, and it's number 88. It's just like a yellow, kind of like the ochre color I was using. And I'm literally just going to scribble on there, just like that, on his feet, her feet I guess I should say, and then on the beak as well. And I'm just going to use my watercolor brush just to make sure it's blended really well. Okay, so that was really quick and easy. Of course I did the cutting off camera, so it made it look extra easy, but I just think it looks super cute like that. Okay, so that birdie was super simple. The other one, I stamped onto the green piece of paper out of the Garden Fable, and then I stamped it onto some of my scrap pieces of paper and did the wings in pink. And then I'm also going to go over it with the roses. So that is what the wings look like fussy cut out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stagger this off a little bit just to give it some added dimension. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm kind of creating extra feathers by doing this, kind of putting them in between the other feathers. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Yes, these birds are definitely my favorite. I love the Bloomgirl stamps, but I have a really hard time using girl images for some reason. I know one day I'll break down and use them and hopefully be able to come up with something really cool, but for now, I don't know. I'll get them out and I'll stamp them and I'll color them, and then I'll draw a blank as to what to add them to. But these birdies, I feel like they have so many different uses. So I'm just kind of staggering it to the right a little bit. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's just giving you a little extra dimension. There's more feathers behind there. Just kind of makes it look a little more full. So that is what I'm doing there. And again, I'm just gluing this section, so that way at the end I can kind of fluff up these feathers and you can really see the pink ones behind there. Okay, and then the same thing with this little section right here. I just stamped that one onto the rose piece of paper as well. And I'm just going to glue the bottom portion, and we're going to stagger this one as well. We're just staggering everything to the left just a little bit, and it just kind of makes it look like you have a fuller wing set. So again, all we have to do is color the beak on this one, and we're good to go. These stamps are amazing. Jamie definitely outdid herself. And they have like the, hold on, let me grab them again really quickly. They have the flowers and the little cherries and everything. It's just super cute. You can do so many things with these. I've been tugging them in and out of my sprays. They're so fun. Okay, so that is it for our birdies. They will be ready to go. All right, now back to the frame. We're going to add some micro beads on here. Let me grab my little tray before we start doing our mask. So I'm going to be using the gold micro beads and the copper ones. And the item number for the copper ones, we'll be using these first, is 962579. I'm obsessed with using these micro beads. I really, really, really love it. Yes, Delana, I'm so bad with technical terms, but that's exactly what I was trying to figure out to say, offsetting it. Just shifting it to the left a little to make the dimension stand out. Okay, so I am going to be using my liquid pearls to be my adhesive for my micro beads. It's just something I prefer to do. I don't know, just what I use, especially on intricate pieces like this, because I want to add it to some places but not all, and I want to have control over where it goes. So since the background is blue, I'm just using a blue liquid pearl, and I'm just going to randomly, let me make sure it's coming out first. Yep. I'm just going to start kind of tracing along my flourish edges with my liquid pearls. And I'm being pretty generous with it. I'm adding a good amount. And not only am I putting it like on the top part, but also kind of tilt your frame and put it on the edges too. It looks a lot better that way. It's kind of coming from the inside and outside edge. So you can kind of do a little section at a time and just pour the microbeads all at one time. Pearl the microbeads is what I was trying to say. Okay. Okay, so you can see that's not nice and neat. It's just kind of like globbed on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You will not see it at the end. But if it does dry in some areas, it's blue and it matches the background. So we're good to go. So just pour it on there and then just kind of tap it off. So I'm going to do this all the way around, anywhere I feel like I should have some microbeads. And I'm not going to put as many as I did on the original because, you know, we have time constraints here, but I'm just kind of going all the way around my frame and adding the microbeads. And you can even take your liquid pearls and just do like a dot, a dot, a dot, and then when you pour your I keep saying pearl them, pour your liquid pearls, it just kind of adds a little random area of the microbeads. Okay. And then I just tap my frame, and then I'll use my finger sometimes just to kind of spread it out. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Just going around my edges with the microbeads. Hello, Peggy. Sweetheart, thank you for coming. Pearl them. That's what I keep saying, song. Pearl them. Okay, let me do the other side really quickly, and we'll set that to the side to dry. And if you heat set this too, since you're using the liquid pearls, it'll bubble up and create this really cool dimension. I'm not going to do it on this one, but I did it on another project that'll be shown soon. And it created super cool, like grungy dimension. So if you like that grungy look, just hold that heater really close to the paint. Okay. I am good, Peggy. I am so glad you came out tonight. How have you been, sweetheart? Alright, I think that's good enough for this frame. This section's going to get covered up with the mask, so I don't want to waste my product over there. Okay, so for now, this is what our frame looks like. We will be adding more details to it. I know I use a lot of alcohol inks, so instead of using all alcohol inks on this one, I was going to try and do something different. So I'm going to be using a little bit of the chalkboard paint itself to add a little bit more color to it. So I'm going to take my pink chalkboard paint, and this is called Antique Pink. Beautiful. I love these chalkboard paints so much. The item number is 577155. Thank you, Delana. We will get to the mask in just a minute. I'm actually doing okay. I budgeted like 20 minutes per thing, so I think we'll be okay. All right, I'm going to grab one of my smaller Finnabair brushes, the 1/2" one. It's kind of like angled. I'm not good with technical terms, y'all, so you know. All right, so I'm just dipping my paintbrush in here. I'm going to go on some of my edges and just literally just glob the paint on there, just like that. You can let it dry thick like that. It looks really, really amazing. I usually squirt it one time with water and just kind of let it run. And I'm just going to go around my frame and add a little bit of pink paint randomly. And then I'm just going to spray it with water just to get it to move around a little bit. And if you spray it really up close, it really moves it around. And I wanted to do this before we added the paper. Okay, so we've got some pink going on there. You can also get all the water too and just kind of use that to saturate your paint so it's not so thick. You can go over your microbeads, which they're pretty wet right now, so I'm just going to barely tap. But that just kind of blends everything together. Okay, this off of my mat, and then of course I'm going to pull out my alcohol inks because I love to use them. I'm sorry, it's a habit. I don't think I can go through a single project without using them. So that's what that looks like so far. Hold it up close so you can hopefully see. Once it dries, it looks really pretty. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit of alcohol ink. Is Tiffany on here? Hello, sweetheart. Okay, I'm just going to start randomly dropping it. And then, of course, spraying it with water just to get it to move around and blend with everything else. Let it drip down. And I think that's good. I don't want a ton of brown, just a little bit, just to kind of add some color variation. All right, so this is what we have. As soon as this dries, we will add our piece of paper to the inside there. So I'm going to set this to the side. Now we're going to work on decorating our mask. And we are going to use a lot of the new metals, which I'm really excited about. They're so cool, you guys. Okay, so our mask is nice and dry now. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab some of my lace, and this is from the Memory Hardware. It's the Trims Magnolia, and the item number for that is 583002. And I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces off and use them as flowers. I love this trim. It's probably my favorite. Okay, so I'm just going to use a couple of these. So I'm just cutting each one apart. So I'm going to go ahead and start layering some embellishments. I'm going to go ahead and stick this one down right here. I'm going to be using hot glue for anything that is like cloth or paper, any non-metal item. I'm going to go ahead and add hot glue. Okay, I think I just added one there, and then on the side I added, okay. So up here on the corner, we're going to add another flower. So I'm just going to glue it to the back right there. And we're going to be using some of the Garden Fable chipboards to kind of go around the edges too and make them more decorative. So just adding that there. Now I'm going to cut, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more of these off. But we're only going to be using half of them. So you can save the other halves for another project. Use them just kind of poke out behind other elements. So I'm just cutting right down the center of this trim. I don't want to waste, so I didn't want to glue the whole thing on there when only this was going to show. Okay, so I'm just going to start right around the edge here and just start gluing my lace all the way down this side. So I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue to the back, making sure the right side is facing up, and just gluing it on there. And I'm just kind of using my fingers to kind of push it up, give it some added dimension. Actually, I think I only needed 2. Let me cut that one off really quickly. Alright, so I'm just adding glue to the back. And ruffling it as I go. And just adding that beautiful lace. It is so incredibly pretty. I love it. They hit a home run with this stuff. I've always loved their laces, especially this one. Okay, let me grab my chipboard really quickly. This is the Garden Fable Chipboards and More. It comes with the feathers and everything in it. Let me grab my mouse really quickly because I clicked away from the chat. Okay, I wanted to be able to make sure you guys saw it. Okay. The new trims are awesome. Waste? No, no wasting, Delana, huh? I save everything, and I wish I had a way to organize all my scraps because it's just kind of messy, but I save everything. I do have like my trims and laces in one area, but it does get quite messy. I even save all of my packaging like this. This will be saved. So I'm going to go through here and pick a couple of the, I think this one will work perfectly actually. This is going to be the one I used. I don't know if it's the one I used on the other one. But the item number for this is 579074, and it's the Garden Fable chipboards. So I'm going to use this piece right here. So pretty and intricate. And I just want some extra definition on this side, so I'm just going to kind of have it coming off the back right there, just like that, just like some little flowers peeking up. So I'm going to cut off this little piece right here, because that makes it just a little bit too long, and I'm going to start bending this with my hands just to make it more pliable. Good night, Zandra. Thank you so much for coming out. Have a great night. Nipur, what time is it in India right now? I don't know if it's morning time, super late for you, but I so appreciate you making it. Alright, so I'm just adding hot glue and then just pushing it on there. Just like that. Okay. Alright. Now we're going to add a couple of wooden pieces. These are from an older, I don't know exactly which one these coordinate with. It might be the Vintage Vanity, and the item number's on the blog today, but I don't have it right now. I threw the backing away. But I'm using this piece right here. It comes with like the ruler and the little scalloped edge and then the little checkerboard pieces. So I'm just going to use a few of those. And I'm literally just going to use my Tim Holtz scissors and just cut a couple of pieces. This is a really thin wood, so it cuts through it really easy. So I'm just making a couple little random shapes of it. Okay. All awake. 7:45 a.m. Oh my goodness. So what time was it when you messaged me, sweetie? I really appreciate you being here. That is awesome. Alright. So I'm just cutting a few pieces. One more little one. We got, let's see, we got 15 minutes. We might make it. Carrie would be so proud of me if I got done in an hour. Okay. So I'm just going to adhere these on my edges, just in random places. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to add one up here in this corner, and I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to do so, just because it holds it immediately, and I'm going to be putting some wet mediums on there pretty quickly. 2 a.m., oh my goodness. And of course this doesn't want to come out. We're just going to use hot glue. Okay. Hopefully it won't give us any problems later. We're just going to go for the hot glue. Alright, I'm putting one piece over here in this corner, just like that. I'm going to put another piece right here under the eye. And a lot of it's going to get covered up with other embellishments, but the bottom part will show through. I'm just going to put it right there like that. And the last piece we're going to stick right up here under the lace flower. And this is just an easy way to add some dimension. I've had these for a while now, and I don't think I'd ever use them, so pulled them out of my stash. Okay, so I'm just adding them there like that. Now we're going to use some of the fun new metals from Prima. These are the corner pieces, and they're all just called metal embellishments for now. I'm not sure if I'm missing the name for these, but these are corner pieces to me, so that's what I call them. And the item number is 583095. They are so incredibly pretty. So I'm just going to use one of these right here in the corner of this eyepiece. And I was going to use Fabri-Tac, but since it's giving me grief, I'm going to try for hot glue. We'll see how that goes. But before I do, I'm going to bend these corners just a little bit. Don't bend them till they break. Just curve them a little bit so they will fit on your mask better. So I'm just, because they're pliable, they're pretty pliable. Ah, and of course, right when I say that, it broke. Okay, so we're saving that one for the bottom part of the frame. So bend them just barely. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to use hot glue. I'm just going to add this one right here in the corner, and this little piece is going to kind of come into the eye, and I'm going to use that to pop up my next embellishment. So we've got it right there like that. Oh, thank you so much. No, it was really one of those projects that just kind of came together. I was doing the mask by itself first, but when I got done with it, it just needed a home, so I ended up using the frame. Okay, this is from the Timeless Memories collection. It's a little bit of an older collection, but I love it, and the item number is 579845. I really love this ornate frame. It's just super, super pretty. And we're going to highlight it with some of the new Iridescent Mica powders from Menagerie, and it's going to really bring it to life. So for now, I'm just going to try to use hot glue. We'll see if we can get away with it. I don't know. I'm going to use this just to literally, it's going to become our eyepiece over here. Alright, I'm going to wait for that to dry. Yep, that's going to work. Okay, I'm going to stick one little piece of hot glue under here just to kind of catch that edge. And then I used the alphas that come with it, and I used a P for Prima. But since this is going to my niece, it's easy to change these out. Then I'm going to go ahead and use an A for her name on this one. And those are self-adhesive, and they fit in there just perfectly. Well, of course it's upside down, Miranda. So that is what it looks like so far. Yep, I did a P for Prima. Alright, let me move these really quickly. Okay, now we're going to add one more piece of the lace. We're going to use one of those half pieces that we cut off. I'm just going to kind of layer it right there just to kind of cover up a little bit of that edge. Okay. Just like that. Okay, now I have all my clock faces and stuff here. Let's see, these are from the Junkyard Findings range, which is my all-time favorite. These are the clock faces. The item number is 891596. And I'm going to be using the zipper from the Stamp and Add Moth Wings, which is also amazing. The item number is 892517. And then I'm also going to use these new beauties from the new metal embellishments. They're like these little chandelier drops. And the item number is 583576. And let me grab my flowers because we're going to be using this all at the same time. I don't want to forget any. These are from the new Royal Menagerie collection. These are so pretty. They're little velvety flowers. They're so gorgeous. And the item number is 583316. And we're going to be using the pink ones. And last but not least, what am I missing here? Okay, there we go. I'm going to be using one of these little butterflies from the Forever Green Wood Icons. The item number is 576042. These are so pretty, so I definitely had to incorporate that in there. Okay, and I always break these. Everybody always freaks out when I do it, but in order to get these to have more dimension, I usually just cut right down the middle of it. And then I glue it back together, but I glue it like this at an angle, so that way it just has more dimension. And I just use hot glue to do this. I'm just going to put a bead of hot glue down the center and just push this right back together like that. And that just makes it have dimension instead of being flat, because everything needs dimension. Thank you, Delana. Yes. She's on top of it with those product numbers. Okay. Let's see, what are we going to add first here? I'm going to add a clock face to the center of my lace flower. And I do cut my packaging up when I use these clock faces. I know, don't kill me, but I do. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little clock face to the center there. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to add my butterfly right here, and it's going to kind of halfway cover that little clock piece up. So just a little bit above it, I'm going to add my little butterfly. Okay, so it looks like that so far. You can barely see that clock face right now, but once we add our alcohol inks and stuff, it will show a lot more. Let me grab a couple of the pink flowers. The purple ones are just amazing, but they don't really match what I'm going for here. So I'm going to grab a couple of the pink ones, and my little zipper piece here. The Stamp and Add is so versatile. It's definitely one of my favorites. Ingle creates the most amazing products. She really hits a home run. Okay, so down here I'm going to add one of my beautiful flowers. And I did peel the little beautiful center off only because I'm kind of adding my own. And these are velvet. Once you guys touch these, you're going to be in love. They have such a soft feel to them. I'm so in love with it. Okay, so I'm putting that one right there. Just making it dimensional using hot glue. And I'm going to add this little zipper piece right to the center. Yeah, I tuck everything into these clusters. I love the Junkyard Findings range because before, and if anybody's followed my work for a while, you'll know, I used to go out to my honey's shop and take items from his shop all of the time. And it was always like random pieces like the Junkyard collection. So it's really cool just to be able to use these zippers and the spark plugs and everything that she came out with. It's really cool because I use stuff like that all the time. Okay, I'm going to use these little chandelier drops. And I am going to cut it's got like a lobster clasp on it. I'm just going to use my Timmy scissors to cut that off because I don't want that piece on there. Okay, and I'm just going to adhere these right to the center of my butterfly. And it's just going to dangle down just like that. Okay. Alright, so that is pretty much it for here. We're going to add our mediums and we will be good to go. I'm going to add one more flower up here. And I have a half of one actually, and I'm going to add that one. Let's see, let's tuck it right under there. I don't know, I think we all cut our flowers in half when we do this because who wants to waste the other half of that flower? Alright, so this is pre-mediums. Okay. And I'm going to wait and do this all at once. We're going to adhere it to the frame first. Okay, so let me get my frame back over here. Oh, wait, one more step. I'm going to cut this little clock in half. And these are really pliable. I'm sure you guys know that. Alright, so I'm going to kind of tuck it in to my layers over here. Just kind of poking out from some of these pieces of paper. Just for some added interest. You can even use some of the flowers. You can cut them in half and kind of have them poking out as well, which I'm going to do really quickly. So this one I'm going to kind of tuck right here. Okay, so that is ready to go. That is our mask so far. Alright, let me grab my frame really quickly. It is pretty well dry. Yep. So let me pick a piece of paper to adhere to the center. Cut it really quickly. I think I'm going to go with the green sheet. Alright, let me grab my paper cutter really quickly. This is my heavy-duty paper cutter. And I already wrote, let's see, 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. So let me cut this really quickly. Okay, so we're going to place this right in the center. I wanted to keep that section down there intact. Okay. Again, I'm going to use my tacky glue just to adhere the paper down. And I always use my finger to to smooth out my glue, because I feel like if I don't, I have these raised blobby areas above my paper and I don't like that. So So again, I'm using my fingers, just smoothing out my glue. Double-sided tape would be perfect for this, but I don't have any around me right now, so we're opting for this. I'm just going to line this up the best I can on my center section. Okay, now before we adhere our mask, I'm going to do one really quick coat of clear gesso on here. And this is from the Art Basics line. It's a staple, must have. Item number is 961466. I'm just going to add a really good coat on there. If I can find my paintbrush, that is. Hold on one second. I'm just being really liberal with it. I love clear gesso. I don't think you could ever put too much. And I love that it dries matte. I'm not a fan of glossy finishes. And I love this textured matte finish. So I'm just adding that all over. That way when we add our alcohol inks and stuff, it's not going to absorb into the paper. Okay, now we can adhere our mask. Layers, not goose. Layers. You guys are cracking me up. Okay, so let's adhere our mask and then we can add our little birdies. So I'm going to kind of do a little, well, there we go. Okay, just going to kind of fluff up my edges of my mask here to give it some more dimension. Just don't want it to be flat. And then all I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue here and a little bit right here and just barely adhere it on here. I want it to be removable in case she wants to put a picture on there. So I'm literally just going to put the tiniest amount of glue. You guys, if you've worked with hot glue, you know it's pretty easy to pull off. So I'm just going to adhere it right there like that. She can take this off and set it to the side and put a picture of her friends. Peggy, that's a good idea. Yeah, because Chris is ready to kill me because I keep going out to his shop and taking all of his shop cloths, like his rags out there. So yeah. I just realized how much I was wasting, how many paper towels I was going through. I felt bad for it because I was literally going through like a roll during one scrapbook session. So I decided to start using the cloths he had out in his shop without his permission, of course. So yeah, he would really love that idea. Okay, so this is just adhered with 2 little dots of hot glue. So if she wants to put a picture in here, she can pop that right off, set it on the side, no big deal. So this is what we have so far. Now I want to add a few more details with our little birdies down here, which are all ready to go. And I broke this corner piece trying to adhere it to my mask, but we put one on here on the corner anyway, so no big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down. So if you break pieces, don't even worry about it. You can add it somewhere else. So I'm going to add that right there, and then take my little broken piece and just adhere it there with it. Just like that. And you cannot even tell it was broken. Okay. Now with our birdies, I used the new Esperenza flower spray, and I used it in this purplish color. And the item number is 581923. These are so beautiful. So in the pack you get this focal point spray right here, and then you get the little butterflies and a couple extra flowers, which I might use those. I usually take the big one off, and then I just use this part, and it's wrapped together, but you can peel it off pretty easily. Okay, so I'm just going to peel that off like that. Alright, and this one ripped on me. There we go, never mind. I can fix it. Okay, I'm going to add a little coat of clear gesso before I forget, so it can take our alcohol inks and other mediums. And I'm just going to use my fingers to apply it on my leaves and in the center of my flower. It doesn't have to be perfect, just so all of the mediums don't soak down into there. And I just fluff up my flowers really good. And I love these little stamens, which is super pretty. I love it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just make a little branch for my birdies to sit on right here. Make sure my stamen's on the top. So I'm just going to hot glue this little branch down. Right there. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you have glue seeping out, no worries, because our birdies are going to cover that up. Okay. So just put it right down there on the corner. Alright, now let me turn it my way for 1 second so I can place my birdies where I want them to go. Alright, the little guy I'm going to put over here to the side. He's going to kind of be on this branch. So I'm going to use some pop dots to adhere him on there. Okay. And a little bit of glue to make sure that branch stays under him so it looks like he's resting on it. There we go. Okay, so he's off to the side down there. And then we're going to add our other one, kind of floating up the frame here. I love that this one looks like it's in flight. Okay, and I did use bigger pop dots on the other one, but I ran out. So I'm going to have to use a bunch of these little ones. Alright, so I'm just going to randomly place him right there, like so. And then I'm going to pull the other flower off from the other side of that spray. Add a little bit of gesso. And stick him right there on the other side. And that is it as far as embellishments go. Now we're just going to add a little bit of mediums and we are done. Okay. Alright, so this is what we have, y'all. Now all I'm going to do is add a little bit of alcohol ink, a little bit more of the chalkboard paints, and we are done. So everything has been clear gessoed, so it's not going to soak into anything. And once everything is dry, you can kind of fluff your flowers back up to life and get everything placed where you want it to. Okay, so I'm going to spray the center of my flowers. Just do a couple little drops of alcohol ink. And then spray it again. I'm going to spray some water right up here and kind of get it dripping down. Add some more alcohol ink and just let it run down like that. I don't want it to go all the way. Just like that. Do some over here coming out from this section. Just like that. You can kind of use your finger to move it around and blend it. Okay, now I'm going to use the chalkboard paint again, the pink one. Oh, did you see what I just did? We're going to have to go with that. Lovely accidents. When I opened it, it kind of went right there. No big deal. It's mixed media. You can get away with anything. Okay, so I'm just going to spray a little bit there just to kind of blend that. I'm going to go up here on my mask and add a little bit of pink, a little bit of pink right there, some up here on the edge, some right there, just kind of all over. And then I'm just going to spray it with water and let it kind of run and blend and do its thing. Then we're going to add a little bit of alcohol ink up here as well. And on the original one, you'll probably see I did, a little bit more detailing than this, but we are pretty much out of time. So the very last step we're going to do is incorporate some of the mica powders, which are amazing. These are the iridescent gold ones. I love these new iridescent ones. They are so pretty, especially on black gesso. What color alcohol ink am I using? This one is Latte. I use the caramel, I use the latte one, any kind of brown color alcohol ink. I know the new labels don't have the colors written on there. Yep, it is latte. That's a lighter color. Okay, so last step is I'm just going to take some of my mica powder. I'm going to take my paintbrush and put a little bit off to the side here. And then we're just going to use our watercolor brush to highlight a few areas, and we are done. Let me grab my watercolor brush. So I've just got a big pile over here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to add a little bit of water and just start mixing it together. And the main thing I want to highlight with this are the metals. So I'm making this pretty thick. I'm not using a lot of water. I want this to be pretty thick, almost like a glaze. Okay, so now we're going to go to our metals, like that one. And you can see just how much that shows up, hopefully. It is really pretty on those metals. My camera doesn't want to zoom. Okay, so I'm going around that frame from the Timeless Memories and highlighting it. And it's blending with the alcohol ink, and it just looks super pretty. Once it dries, it makes such a beautiful shimmer. It's just amazing. So it really completely lightened up that really dark frame and made it very light and shimmery. Okay, make sure I get in there. I'm going to go on some of these metals on my little clock, put some on this butterfly, some on the edges. Basically just go crazy with this stuff. You can see on that white lace, hopefully, just how shimmery and pretty it is. It made that look completely golden instead of white. It's very pretty. Alright, so I'm just going to go on these edges. And then another thing I really like to do is once your micro beads are dry, go on top of them with this stuff. And it just makes it look so pretty. It completely changes the color of those micro beads. Makes it very pretty. Alright, you guys, that is pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions at all? Sorry if I missed any questions. Definitely makes the metals pop. I put it in the center of my flowers. Mica powders are awesome. I'm so glad that they came out with these. All of the art ingredients are amazing. You can highlight your little spray. I love that you can be as sloppy as you want with this stuff and just add a little bit of water and you're good to go. Alright, so that is our frame. This is the one we created tonight. Here is the original, which is a little bit smaller, as you can see. And this one actually has a prop up on it. So this will probably be the one I end up giving my niece. I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Thank you all for coming out. Stay tuned Tuesday for Robbie's first show with her dress form. It's going to be amazing. I will be there for sure. Robbie Delana, thank you so much for modding. Sorry, you guys, if I was a little all over the place. Like I said, I was not feeling well tonight, so I didn't want to bail on my Ustream shutdown. Okay. Thank you all so much. I'm glad nobody has any questions. Yes, thank you, Delana. Big surprise tomorrow. PrimaTypePad.com or the, I can't think of the other website, but it's where you get the special delivery kits. There's a big surprise going on. Yep, art venture coming up. If you're going, take me with you, please. I'm small. I don't take up much room. Hide me in there. Ladies, thank you for coming out and chatting and making me feel at home. Have a lovely night, a lovely weekend coming up. I'm going to hit, yes, live with Prima.com. Thank you, Delina. My mind drew a blank there for a minute. And boy, do I have a mess to clean up. I wish you guys could see this right now. It's so messy. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Let me stop the recording.